The only thing I won't do is Zoom comedy because I love stand-up so much. I refuse to do like Zoom shows, but I mean, who knows, man?
Weird.
I might come back, tail in between my legs soon and just if Zoom is what it is, then that's what it is.
Me, your host, Phoebe Robinson, and joined as always in the studio, well, actually, an Airbnb rental, is my co-producer, me editor, the love of me stinking life, Brittany Beckoff.
Oh, hello.
Hey, babes.
How you doing?
I'm swell. But I think who cares about how I'm doing because...
Wow, everyone cares how you're doing.
No, because someone just had a birthday.
I did.
How does it feel?
The same as it did before.
But you don't feel like any different in your bones, in your soul.
Well, as you know, every time I get out of bed now, my knees creak.
They do not. You're so full of it.
No, they do.
You need to freaking exercise.
I need to stretch more before I go to bed, maybe. Yeah, I've been catching myself making old man noises as well. So when I sit down, it's like,
Can I break up with you now?
Wow, over old man noises?
Mm-hmm. You're younger than me.
I know, and the things I've seen.
So I need to go get me like a 25-year-old because obviously...
You're making some headlines then, wouldn't you?
I mean, not really. I'm only 36.
Yeah.
I mean, you're 32 and your body's fucking falling
Phoebe
apart.
Robinson, former star of HBO's Two Dope Queens, caught prowling the streets for 21-year-old men.
First of all, I'm not prowling. I would get plenty of offers if I just said I'm tech avail.
You just put it on your Instagram and wait for the DMs.
And I said
I'm tech avail as well.
Yes, I'm tech avail, bitches. And I said 25-year-olds, not 21-year-olds.
Well, I'll call TMZ now and get the article adjusted.
Did you have a nice birthday, babe?
I had a lovely birthday, thank you. We made pizza.
Ooh, from scratch.
From scratch.
Freaking dough, bitches.
Mm-hmm. We had breakfast burritos in the morning.
Mm-hmm. We had some sex.
Well,
boink,
don't tell
boink,
everyone.
Boink,
Whoa,
squeak,
whoa,
squeak,
whoa.
squeak.
Or as the British have sex. Mm-hmm. Oh, yes. Aha. Well, pip pip, tally-ho, on my way.
You've also, this is so cute, you've been really excited about this for many years. But this...
Sex?
I finally took your virginity on your birthday after 3 years of dating.
Mm-hmm.
No, but you've been truly living your truth by playing this game, Cyberpunk 2077.
That's the first time you've gotten that name right. But yes, I have been living my best life, I suppose you would say.
Yeah.
But I made you as my character.
It was really nice, but then you gave her boobs that are way bigger than mine.
Well, there was only 3 options. There was flat-chested, which is like no boobs.
Okay.
Massive kahongas.
Kahongas?
I don't know. I couldn't think of the word that it is. Or the boobs I gave you.
Oh. I didn't know if you were trying to, send me a little message, a little subtweet.
In Cyberpunk?
Yeah.
Okay.
But you've been playing lots of video games.
I'm just living my best life out here.
You have. I want to say like your 30s are only going to get better and
Better?
better. And so I'm very excited that you're like, oh, why are you checking your watch?
Making sure it's still recording.
Oh.
So that was awkward.
No, I was like, who are you texting?
Off my watch.
But I'm really excited we got to, celebrate your birthday, even though it's like things that I had planned for us in the West Coast, like we weren't able to do. And I was kind of sad about it. At the end of the bloody day, it's really about the people.
And it just.
So it's just been really, really nice to spend this time with you and like cuddle.
After the years of traveling for a living, there's no other way I'd prefer to spend a birthday.
Just like in quarantine?
Just sat, chilling.
Yeah.
With you. In a hot tub.
Oh.
Eating lots of nice food.
Yes. Because you know what we've been doing? We have been, ordering meals off a Home Chef and then also going to Walmart to get things.
Walmart's a weird place.
You love it. It's your favorite place.
I come away with so much shame every time I'm there.
Well, I think it's just like sometimes, like when we were browsing and they're like, here's some pizza. And like the pizza was like massive.
A pound worth of toppings?
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah. I was like, okay, that's insane. Like we're going to, we made our own, but I was just like that gluttonous, like I understand.
Like there's the fruit section, which is one of those like portable fridges in the middle of an aisle. And then there's 2 aisles of chips, like whole aisles of chips.
So, but what's wrong with that?
All the healthy food is like reduced to like this one small section of the whole store, but all the unhealthy stuff gets...
The chips are great. So that is a hole in your argument. Objection, Your Honor. May I approach the bench? I'm not going to wait. I'll
what are
walk
those
into the bench.
biscuits you get in a tube?
Pillsbury?
Yeah.
Those are great.
Yeah, but they have like a whole aisle just for Pillsbury.
It was not a whole aisle.
It's pretty close to
You are such an exaggerator. I'm so glad you do not document history because every war you would document.
The British were great.
You'd be like, you'd be like, the British, fended off 1 billion freaking South Africans. And it's like, what? I'm sure that did not happen.
Wow. Drag me.
I will.
To filth.
I shall.
In front of everyone.
I did. This is what happens when you turn 32. You do not come after the fact that we have a chips aisle.
Pillsbury aisle.
You leave the sacred American things alone.
I apologize to everyone.
Did you guys hear that? Great. So you know what, you guys? I want you to go on British Bake Off's Instagram and leave him some lovely messages. Don't be sliding into his DMs, freaking trying to smash. Okay? Keep it PG. Like, congratulations on breathing for another day. Farewell.
Farewell? Wow. One message in DMs and never speak to me again. I see.
I was trying to say like best wishes, but then fair came out, so that said fair
wishes.
Fair wishes sounds stupid, so I was like farewell.
Okay.
Okay, you know what, guys? Breaking news. We have merch. I thought you were going to say something.
No, I'm just seeing where this is going because it was quite dramatic. And I was on the edge of my seat.
On the news.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So imagine that was happening when I said that. Great. So go to Phoebe Robinson. You guys do all the production on your end.
Yeah. Use your imaginations for all the production. Imagine some scrolling text with some breaking news at the bottom as well.
Okay, go to phoeberobinson.com/
Ooh, wow.
merch. There are t-shirts and jumpers, as the Brits like to call it, or sweaters if you're from America.
Lovely comfy jumpers.
Sizing is small to triple XL. It's really cute.
Mm-hmm.
So hook yourself up with some because we gotta keep these lights on, you guys. We gotta
maybe not these ones because obviously this is a rental,
right? But we gotta pay for this microphone.
We do.
You guys. We gotta pay for the recording equipment. Okay, these cables over here, someone's paying for that,
mm-hmm.
and it's us.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be you guys.
You are messy as hell.
PhoebeRobinson.com/merch. Also, more breaking news.
More?
No.
Sorry, a bit of hair just went in my eye. More?
No, that was it.
Oh, okay.
But I like that you got like so emotional.
I did.
Okay, you guys, listen up. We have a great episode today. I'm very stoked. We all talking to
Hollywood's nicest guy.
He is Hollywood's nicest guy.
He is so nice.
He's so great. He's very funny. And this is like what's really cool is you know him from the Daily Show.
Mm-hmm.
You know him from Crazy Rich.
Mm-hmm.
He's basically now joining the Marvel universe and the I can't read actually. Shang-Chi in the Legend of the Ten Rings.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So he's blowing up. Like, I can't even believe he took the time to talk to me when he has Marvel money. Okay.
Well, I don't know if he's got Marvel money yet.
I mean,
I don't know if that check's cleared.
But they have his checking, his routing number.
Yeah.
I mean, when I get when I got Verizon Fios money instead of fucking Time Warner money, I was acting like such a bougie bitch. So I could only imagine with those Marvel checks.
Damn.
I bet he's like, don't look me in the eye, bitch. And people are like, yeah, okay.
He's not going to be like that.
I'm talking about Ronny Chieng, you guys, and he's the best. He's so fun. And the craziest thing, Bake Off, is that we recorded this at 11 p.m. our time because he was in Australia.
I know.
What was it like being up that late, you old bastard?
I mean, fine. It wasn't 11's not that late, really. I think 4 a.m. would have been worse.
Okay, no, because when we're not recording,
you are coming for me today.
I am, because when we're not recording, you're like, oh, it's 9:15. I want to go to sleep.
That's not what I'm like at all.
Oh, it's 9:45. I want to be in bed.
It's 10:30. I'm getting sleepy. That's what I'm more like.
But it was like, even though it was like such a bizarre time zone difference, I think it was such a great conversation. It was so nice to just, Ronnie's like, he has this great ability of being really funny, but also saying really salient things. So it's just like nice to like spend time with him when we're not, because usually we see each other when we're like at shows and we're coming and going. It's like, oh, that was a great bit. That was cool, blah, blah, blah. So it's nice for us to like not be running away to something and just sit and like hang out for a bit. And it was so like great to hear about his story of like getting into comedy and just like, discovering himself. What were you going to say, babe?
Don't ruin the episode for everyone. Just about to come on.
All right. Well, then I guess I'll shut the fuck up.
Get straight to the bloody point.
Do you want to announce it, babes?
Here is Phoebe's conversation with Hollywood's nicest guy, Ronny Chieng.
Tom Hanks is like, but what about me? You're over, Tom. All right, so I'm going to just do a quick intro and then we'll dive right in. Does that sound good? Okay, cool. Hi, Ronnie.
That's the quick intro.
Yeah.
Hi. That was a mixture of sadness. You said everything in that 2 words that you don't even need to say anymore. I know exactly how you feel by that. I haven't been in New York in 5 months. And you just answered a lot of questions for me. Yeah.
Wait, so before we get into the episode, so you, like, as soon as Corona hit, you peaced out for work or for, like...
No, it was a huge coincidence. I peaced out for work, but I didn't peace out because of coronavirus. Although, I pieced out for work. I happened to come to Australia for work a week before the world literally shut down, airport shut down. So I was here for a good week, and then everything shut down, and it was kind of like you know how they were flying like rescue missions to get people back home, like, you know, and my agents were like, if you don't leave Australia now, you might not get back to New York. And I was like, oh, okay, well that answers that question. And so I just stayed in Australia for like 5 months. And I came to Australia to film something, and it was supposed to be a 2-week shoot, and then coronavirus happened. They postponed production, and I ended up just staying in Australia for 5 months, and then they restarted production within 5 months, and so I actually managed to wrap properly. And also, I used to live in Australia. My wife is Australian, so this was it. It feels like home, you know. So I was good to kind of stay, and I'm glad I did. It was a nice 5 months, pleasant 5 months.
Yeah. Well, I feel like New York is okay now. I mean, there's still tons of cases, but I feel like, you know, people are wearing masks still and like distancing themselves. So I think you'll be fine. So
no, that's good to know. I am curious about the vibe, and everyone who's actually stayed in New York actually has said the same thing as you, but you wouldn't know it by reading on the news. So if you're not in America and you read American news, it's like, what is going on? Like it's like the whole thing is just imploded into itself. So I'm glad to hear that news of its death has been greatly exaggerated.
So do people like in Australia think like we're fucking idiots here? Like, is that like, are they just like, why can't they get their shit together?
There is a little bit of that, to be honest, because Australia has a lot of problems in terms of its race relations for sure internally. But one thing to give credit where credit is due, Australia at its core is a very sensible and practical country. And so they when something like this hits, they are very quick to shut down the borders, and the fact that they're an island helps, you know. And then they already have free healthcare, very good healthcare system.
Wow.
So the testing was almost immediate, very low cost testing, and then now in the midst of Corona, it became free testing. But at the start, it was like low cost testing when everyone was trying to figure out what's going on. You get the results in 24 hours. You know, walking distance to the testing centers. You can get tested literally 30 minute wait from the time you get in. So very sensible kind of, you know, and the way I know you're like, let's not talk about politics on this, and I'm totally
go
game
for
that. But there is an element of like, so like they essentially are socialist here, and they might not call themselves that, but they free healthcare, free education, and you know, my family here has a lot of like they have a small business, and the government grants the financial aid that is quickly given out to small businesses in a very orderly, efficient manner. So stuff like that, you know, it just makes me think like, I think I wish Americans could spend 6 months in Australia at least and just see white people do socialism, and then I think they'd be less scared about it. It will make it's more logical. It's not even about politics. It's about, you know, solutions based, you know. So anyway, that's my big political spiel for this podcast. You know,
I love
Australia.
Well, I'm so glad that you're here to talk about the theme today, which is career change. We've all been through it, you and I both, and I feel like especially now that people are quarantining and like there's a pandemic, there's social uprisings, like everyone is sort of really being like, all right, let me like think about my life in a way where I'm not just sort of just doing stuff because it's just what I'm supposed to do, and now I need to think about what I really want to do, which I think is really huge. And so I want to start with you because you started out not like pursuing stand-up. You were a lawyer and then you switched gears. So I want to hear like what happened. Like, did you always want to do stand-up and then you just kind of like denied it to yourself? Like, what was going on there?
Yeah. I mean, I hate to disappoint you, but like I did go to law school, and I graduated from law school, and I passed the bar exam, but I never actually worked. I never really worked in law. Like I was kind of doing stand up straight out of graduating, and I couldn't get a job in a law firm in Australia. So I went to law school in Australia, and law school in Australia is undergraduate. So I went there very young. I graduated from law school at like 24.
Oh, wow.
And I was kind of one of the older ones. People graduate from law school at 23, 22.
Yeah.
Here, because you enter university at 18 and then it's a 4-year course. But I did 5 years because I was doing like 2 degrees at once. Anyway, so I graduated and I was doing comedy in my final year of law school. And after I graduated, I just kept doing it. So I never had that come to Jesus moment of like, oh my God, I have to quit my job and pursue this or not. I just never got a real job. And there were many times when I was doing comedy. In fact, right up until I got hired at a Daily Show, when I felt like I was 1 foot out the door of comedy. And I kept thinking like, I should go back to law. I should be like this. Surely I can't do this forever. And I was very lucky to get, opportunities, and people gave me a lot of chances, and so I feel like when I got the opportunities, I always kind of delivered. And so I never really had to quit like a corporate job to do it. Although to relate to your question, I did have to consider whether or not to, go into law or not, So I did have that moment.
Yeah. So even when you were going through law school, were you sort of thinking like, I don't really want to do this, and you just still committed to the 4 years? Or did you really think like, yeah, I could see myself doing this when I graduate?
Yeah, I was totally gonna go and become a lawyer, or at least like that kind of management consultant field, that corporate field. But yeah, I was pretty convinced I was gonna go back to Singapore or Malaysia and go and be a lawyer in those countries. When I was studying, I never thought about doing comedy until my final year of law school. And even in my final year, I didn't think it would be a career. I just thought it'd be something you could just do as a, self-expression thing. So yeah, I never, as much as I say, like I didn't get a job because I just wasn't a good student, but I was very much, I was trying to get a job. Yeah.
Okay. So take me back to when you were a kid. Like, what did you want to do as a kid? Like when you were like, when I grow up, this is like what I want to do. And then what were your parents like? Because my parents are very much sort of like, do whatever you want as long as it makes you happy and you can support yourself, which is, I know, not the case for so many people. So I'm curious about what your family was like.
Yeah, it's total opposite to that. That's nice to have encouraging parents.
Yeah.
Mine were like, when I was a kid, it was, I just remember my dad having this conversation with me and my sister, my older sister. Like she's 3 years older than me. I was about 5 years old. She was 8. And he was just saying like, hey, so what do you guys want to do like when you grow up? And that's exactly how he said it. He's like, so what do you guys want to do? And then my sister was like, I want to be a doctor. And my dad was like, great. And then he was like, what do you want to do? And I'm like, I don't know. I kind of like computers. And he's like, okay, then you want to be a computer engineer. I'm like, okay, that's great. And then for like 20 years, I was just like, oh yeah, I'm supposed to be a computer engineer. And that's kind of how it happened. And I do remember I was at that time my parents went to college in New Hampshire. And so they went to college very late in life. They had 2 kids and then they went to college. So I was in New Hampshire for 5 years with my parents. And I remember that was when Seinfeld was at its peak. And I remember watching Seinfeld, and I distinctly remember watching the end of episodes. Sometimes he would have the stand-up segments, right? And I distinctly remember telling my mom like, hey, that looks really cool. I want to try that sometime. And my mom said like, oh, okay. And that, like, so it was very kind of, yeah, it wasn't, I wouldn't say they were encouraging, but they weren't like, they were like, oh, okay, I don't know what to make of that, but sure,
Yeah.
But I didn't do anything about that Seinfeld thing for like 20 years. And then I did comedy and I didn't do I didn't think it was possible. I was growing up in Singapore. There's no real stand-up scene there. And then like I said, I went to university and I eventually started trying it out. But I didn't to answer your question, like they were my parents were I didn't tell them I was doing comedy. Because I wanted to, knowing the type of people they are, I wanted to show them results. I didn't want to just talk about it. And so instead of trying to like impress them with my plans. I knowing that they're very results focused, I just said, I'm not gonna tell them. I'll just do it, and then if it works out, either they'll know or they won't, And so that was my mentality towards it, and it was easy because they were in a separate country, and so I just kept doing it, and eventually they read about it in the Singapore press.
What?
That's how they discovered I was doing stand up, was in the press. And the way, like, I don't know if your parents are like this, but the way Asian parents can get, it's like they only believe something good happened to you. They only believe you accomplished something if a third party tells them that you're good. If you tell them that you're good at something, they don't believe it. They're like, you're exaggerating your skill level. There's no way you're as good as you think, And then if someone else, it doesn't even matter who, it could be like some unqualified whatever, right? If they go, hey, I just saw Ronnie's did a stand-up set, it was pretty good. Then they suddenly become like, oh man, he's really good at it. So that was the local media reporting on you is like the biggest kind of kudos you can get for them. So they were kind of, from that's how they kind of found out, and they were still kind of 50-50 on it. But because I didn't make a big deal about it, so they didn't think I was doing it professionally. They thought I was just kind of like doing it for fun. So that's kind of,
Did you tell like your sister or any of your friends that you were doing stand-up, or like you literally told no one and just sort of snuck around and did it?
Yeah, I just snuck around and did it because I never wanted to. My mindset was like, I didn't want to open a shop where I only sold things to friends. I wanted to kind of prove myself to strangers and prove to myself that I could make strangers laugh. And I wanted to kind of do it in places where people want emotionally invested in me, and just to kind of, so that was my mindset. So I never kind of made a big deal about it to friends. I never, maybe my first gig I invited friends, but after my very, very first gig, I never, brought anyone. And in Australia, we don't do bringer shows, so that was easy. And I just kind of, I just kind of kept my head down and just kept working on it, and I didn't make a big deal about it because, I just felt like it wasn't for me. I wanted the results to speak for itself. I didn't want to talk about this thing that's, how it can be like stand-up comedy, performing or creating anything can be a real ego trip. And I wanted it to be more about skill level than this ego trip for me. So I just kept doing it. Yeah. And I always to answer your question about the parents, my feeling on it is that I feel like all parents want their kids to have a better life than they did. I think that's fair to say, whatever your race is, whatever your country is. So parents want their children to have a better life than they had. And that includes that they want their kids to have a happier life than they did. Even if they're not, even if that's not explicitly thought of. Implicit in the idea that you want your kids to have a better life than you is that you want your kids to have a happier life than you, right?
Yeah.
So I always feel like when you meet against parents, not like your parents were super supportive. If you meet parents who are kind of a little hesitant or in fact outright opposing kind of creative endeavors, you kind of have to keep that in mind that they want you implicitly to have a happier life, even if that's not explicitly expressed.
Yeah.
And so I believe that if you go and pursue something creative and positive that you are happy in, even if they don't like it at the start, over the long term, I think they'll come around because, they don't want their kids to be, I'll be very surprised if any parent wants their kids to be, whatever, in their late 30s and deeply unhappy that they never kind of pursued some kind of self-expression that they enjoyed, And so, in your 20s, it's easy to kind of gloss it over like, oh, we'll do it later, or let me get more life experience. But then it kind of, all these cracks kind of show later on. So what I'm saying is that why not address it earlier on and just go do what you like and find out if you're good at it or if you like it. And parents might be unhappy at the start, but I think over the long term, they'll actually understand and appreciate it. That's kind of why I always tell people who tell me that their parents want that supportive.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it has to do with, people tend to think of like you like a job security is something that you do, and they sort of separate happiness from it. So it's sort of like, just do this job. It doesn't matter if you like your life, you're excited, if you like you're dead inside, just do that because it's job security. But I'm always kind of like, to me, there's no such thing as job security, because I worked at an indie film company at 23 and I was laid off. So very, very early on, I just understood like, oh, companies just like shut down. And then like you don't have money for months. And so I think this notion that like there's job security just doesn't make sense to me. But I wonder, like, is that something like your parents or like even your friends were sort of like, when you were pursuing stand up, and they maybe had like more sort of like quote unquote normal office jobs. So they're just kind of like, man, what are you doing? Like, how are you going to feed yourself? Like, what is your life going to look like in 10 years? Was there sort of those kind of conversations?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, and yeah, you just nailed it on the head. I mean, that's 100%. That's it. And I mean, not to, my parents were obviously like that. They're both kind of highly educated corporate people, and I was in law school surrounded by a lot of type A personalities. That the whole game for 5 years of my life was, that was how you win the game, is by minimizing risk in terms of your career path and joining organizations where there's a very predefined career path, and these elite organizations that are very hard to get into, top tier law firms, management consulting firms, investment banking. And you start comparing yourself to other people all the time. I mean, we still do it, I think, in comedy or show business, but I think, I mean, I'm sure we do, but I think I like to think that not only are we older now, we also have more perspective on it. So we understand, we have a lot more perspective on comparisons. We still make them, but I think we mentally deal with it better. As opposed to your early 20s, everyone around you is chasing this, they're trying to get into the top tier law firm. And so you go, oh, I have to do that. If I don't get into this law firm at this age, my life is over. And so there was definitely a lot of kind of pursuing that career path thing. And it took me the longest time to realize what you just said, which is that, there is you could join a top tier law firm and get retrenched, or the company could collapse. And in fact, like doing comedy, if you can find a way to make a living from your creative endeavors, that's actually the most job security. If you want to analyze it from a pure risk job security point of view, you can't fire yourself. If you're the product, like if you are the guy making if you're the guy or girl making the stuff, that's, you're gonna, you even in this environment that we're in right now, where companies are closing down, small businesses are closing, like if you are creating stuff, if you are the product, you can't you have way more job security because you're making something that people want and only you can make it. And hopefully you're enjoying doing it as well. So I think that's a very long-winded way of agreeing with you in that if you pursue creative endeavors, you in the long term you actually have more job security, in a way.
That's really smart. I never looked at it like that, but that makes a lot of sense. And so, like, while you were pursuing stand-up, did you have sort of any kind of terrible jobs where you're just like, oh my God, like, let me just get this over with so I could just get on stage tonight and do like my 10 minutes and I'm working on, like, what were like some of the trash jobs that you had?
Trash jobs were, I mean, I don't want to diss these guys, but I work for like a grocery store, like a small grocery store in Melbourne. It wasn't a trash job. It was just, it was a job. And I worked for like this law firm, this small one-man law firm in Melbourne. I was just the office guy. And he was great. He was a lot of fun. That guy, I still he inspired some jokes, and it was fun. It felt like me and him against the world. It was a very small law firm in Melbourne, Australia. So it wasn't trash. It was just kind of like these were all and to his credit, he actually offered me a full-time position at the small law firm, and
Nice.
I turned it down because at that time comedy was going pretty okay. But I'm trying to think of what other really trash jobs. I don't know. Maybe I blocked out my memory, but I can't think of anything that made me hate my life that I was doing. And it really was a growing experience because I know this is very entitled to say, but again, I'm coming off of a family environment that was very career focused. In professional careers, I was surrounded by people who are pursuing professional careers for 5 years of my life.
Yeah.
These type A personalities, and so to kind of overcome that kind of programming and go, I'm just gonna figure out my own way, and I don't care what job I do. I'm just figuring it out, and I'm gonna run my life at my own pace instead of rushing into these things which I don't know if I want for the right reasons. That was kind of a huge mental shift for me to be able to do that, to go, I'm going to go work at his grocery store, even though I have the law degree and a commerce degree and all my friends are starting their, whatever investment banking careers. And it's okay. And I was okay with it, and you just build that kind of, it's such a cliche, but you're really finding yourself. You build that kind of mental toughness and you focus on what you like more than what other people are thinking, it like that was really where it all started for me, to kind of be more comfortable with myself, and not comparing myself to other people. Yeah. So it was really important, and it's so dumb to say, but I think a lot of my Asian friends didn't get to do that, because their parents kind of set their lives up. You go to college, we'll pay for college, and then you go to, which is a very privileged situation. But then we expect you to go get a professional job and you work, and then they never kind of have a chance to kind of find themselves,
Yeah. So how were you able to make that mental shift to be like, okay, you know what, I'm not going to compare myself to other people. Like, I am on my own sort of journey and path, because I feel like, I'm 35, and I will say definitely for the first 6 or 7 years of doing comedy, I was just so like, am I doing the right thing? I'm from the Midwest, and like everyone there was like, they could buy houses, and I was like struggling to pay rent and like all these things. And I would just compare myself to a life that I didn't really want, but I thought it's what I should be pursuing. So I'm wondering, like, what put you in a place where you went, you know what, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm really going to trust that I'm going to just follow through on what I want to do, and I'm going to end up okay.
Yeah, it's tough, and there definitely were a lot of darker moments like that where you're kind of questioning everything, and you, like I said, I was 1 foot out the door right up till I got hired on a Daily Show almost. I was just like, oh, should I be doing this full time? Can I do this full time? Should I keep doing this? How much will I ever come up with another joke? That kind of stuff. And I don't know. I think part of it is I mentally, my personality is very much a loner already. So I already have kind of like a chip on my shoulder, a very natural chip on my shoulder with kind of authority and kind of social norms and what everyone else is doing. So I already had that already. I kind of lost it a bit, in law school, kind of conforming, but I always naturally was like, fuck all this shit, like I hate this, I hate just doing it just because all these people are doing it. I hate following the crowd. So I already had that. And then part of it is also I think is a skill set that of navigating uncertainty, and I think it's something which people don't really think enough about, how to navigate uncertainty, because like if you look at yourself now and you've done these great things, that movie which I love, Ibiza, which I love, by the way, you're great in it. Yeah, very honestly love that movie. Very fun, not cliched, very authentic. I loved it. And all this stuff you've done, and you look back, right, and you go like, when you are starting out, could you have seen any of those pathways, and you can't see it.
Yeah.
But now looking back, you can, and it becomes so obvious, right? Obviously that led to that, led to that, led to this. I guess my point is like, it's very hard when you're at that side of the journey to see the pathways.
Yeah.
But when you've traveled a bit and you look back, you're like, those pathways make sense. And so just understanding that pathways happen and you can make connections happen, I think is part of navigating uncertainty, even though you don't know where those paths will lead or how it will play out. So that's something I would tell myself if I was younger. At that time, I was obviously very panicky as well, and I was doing well enough in comedy to make it work, and I was just wondering, when is it going to stop, and I'm lucky, like I said, people gave me opportunities. I was able to get opportunities when I was at my lowest, and something nice would happen, and I'd be like, okay, that kept me going for a little bit longer, and then that kept me going for a little bit longer, you know. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely tough, and it can get pretty bleak, and I guess my only advice with that, concrete advice, is that navigating uncertainty is a skill that you need to cultivate, just like, you know, just like any other skill. You can't just not care, like you can't just be like, overcome it. You have to actually cultivate that skill of learning the anxiety that comes with uncertainty and knowing how to manage it, and yeah, I think that's a big part of it, you know.
Yeah. And so you said that you're a loner, and I feel like sometimes I'm a little bit of a loner. Like I live in my head a little bit, and I need to like have my space. And I live with my boyfriend. I'm just wondering, as someone who's married and you're a loner, how does that work with your wife?
Yeah. No, it's good. It's great. That's a great question. I mean, you should probably ask her that. Yeah, I'm definitely in my own head a lot, but we're lucky because she took we met at law school, so she gets all of it, you know. And she made some tremendous personal sacrifices to come to New York with me when we moved from Australia. And so we were able to travel together for the most part, you know, keep that relationship strong. And I am a loner, but I definitely have a soft spot for my wife, and so I can connect with her. You know, all I really need is to connect with her. I mean, the best way to put it is not really answering your question, but you know, when you do comedy, like, damn, comedy is a very harsh mistress. It's very demanding mistress. Like, it demands your time, your attention. You're gonna be working at night, you know, and where all your friends will be free, you'll be working, so you won't see them. And then when you're free, which is daytime, your friends will be working, and so you won't see them. And then guess what? If you get really good at comedy, you know what's gonna happen? You're gonna tour on weekends, so you're not gonna see them on weekends. So you're gonna miss weddings, birthdays, funerals. You're gonna miss all that stuff, and it becomes like, yeah, how much do you want it? You know, do you really want it? I mean, I think sacrifice is a very easy word to say, but then to actually accomplish it is another thing. And so if you like, for me, what I was trying to say earlier when I said I'm a loner, what I was trying to say is that I was okay with it. I was okay with missing birthdays. I didn't care about weddings. I didn't care about social events. I was very happy kind of be on my own, writing jokes, doing what I wanted to do. You know, social obligations to me are real pain. And so my mentality happened to be the one that thrives in that kind of, you know, where people will go crazy. I just happen to like that kind of environment. So, I mean, I can't explain how to get that mentality other than, you know, you're going to have to sacrifice things socially to do comedy. And, my wife gets it. And so I'm lucky that I love hanging around my wife. And this past pandemic, I've had to hang out with her 24/7 for like 5 months, and we've gotten better. So I think, that proves I married the right person.
Yeah. So what about social obligations do you not like? Like for me, my favorite thing is I love canceling. And I know it's such a shitty thing, but I love to be like, I can't make it. I feel so good after I'm just going to stay in, wear my sweatpants and like not talk to anybody. Like, what is it for you?
Yeah, same. I'm a real homebody. I think because we travel so much for work and we talk so much for work, we just want to be at home. When we have downtime, we just want to be at home, you know, chilling out, have a nice, you know, like home is our sanctuary.
Yeah.
Just chill out at home. So what about it? Social obligations that bother me? I think it's just the travel and the energy and that it takes, and a lot of the times what happens is it's gotten better now, but when you do comedy, whether you're starting out or you're professionally doing it, the dumbass questions that come with the thing is so draining that you can't even, you know what I mean? You can't even begin. It makes you dread it, because you're asking me what about social obligations bother me. At the start, it was you meet up with law school friends and they're talking about the law school stuff, and most of my friends were relatively supportive, but then you even at my age, early 20s, you're getting friends who are trying to give you advice, like, hey, maybe you should do this. And that was super irritating, so that kind of made me naturally hate that stuff already. And then as you do comedy professionally, you meet people who maybe they're still trying to give you advice, or they ask you really inane questions about people, like, who's the most famous person you've met? And immediately that question is just like, it's so dumb because asking that question, which I get sometimes from people who don't get it, it's like, one, it's like you're basing your whole status on who's the most famous person you met. Two, how would you even determine who's the most famous person? Even if you wanted to answer that question, what does that mean? And three, why do you care? I don't care. Well, no one cares about that. It's the dumbest question. It's not authentic. There's nothing in it that adds any. If someone asks me that question immediately, it's like, oh, you don't get it. So stuff like that is what. That was my sister-in-law. Stuff like that is what makes it super draining. I don't think she knew I was recording it.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Yeah, because I remember from your special, you were joking about like how you hated when people would be like, "Oh, when's your next show?" And I hated that too because I'm like, "You're not gonna come. Why are we having this? You're not gonna show up, and it's totally fine.
And it's fine.
And
it's fine. You don't have to show up. It's okay, and you don't have to. You don't have to, feel obligated. I don't need your pity. I don't need, it's fine. You can not know who I am. You can, you can like other comics. You can even hate comedy. If you say you hate, that's fine. You don't have to tell me that. That's kind of weird to tell me you hate comedy. If I tell you I'm working in comedy, but even that's fine. Let's just stop this conversation. Yeah. So I don't know. I just find it really draining. And so it suits my personality to not talk about it.
Yeah.
Unless you're with fellow comics who get it.
Right. Yeah. So talk to me a little bit about like coming to New York for the Daily Show and what it's always kind of crazy when you move to a new city for a job because it takes on this like extra level of pressure, right? Where you're like, well, I'm here for this gig, so it has to work out because what the fuck else am I going to do if it doesn't, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, it was a no-brainer to move to New York. I mean, there was never a second where I wasn't going to do it. So that was, it was already set. I was going to do it. The question is, how would I do and what was my mindset going in? So, and before the Daily Show, I was in my head, I always wanted to move to New York to do comedy anyway. And I laugh at how naive I was. Thinking of moving to New York with no credits and like every other comic does, and how, man, respect to every comic coming out of New York City because that is a tough. That will grind you into either better or it'll break you. That grind. And I was lucky. I kind of managed to, because of a Daily Show, I managed to transfer laterally to some extent. I didn't have to start from the bottom. The Daily Show kind of let me put my foot in the door, and I always feel like. If someone gave me a chance, I always delivered. I didn't take it for granted, and that and in New York City, if you've got a decent credit and you're a good person, and you're a funny comic, you can get gigs. And then I slowly kind of over the last 5 years, I've managed to make a lot of friends in the comedy scene and get a lot of stage time. So that was a lot of fun. But I don't know. I guess when the Daily Show came, I didn't feel like my life. Like we were so focused on the job, we didn't have time to think about failure, to be very honest. And the way that show works, for me, there was a huge learning curve, coming to America, like you said, and working on a show where we make a show every single day at a level which in Australia, they never work at this level, this many resources with this much audiences and so much on the line, So honestly, that first year, I mean, I didn't realize how tough it was. If we went under, what would happen? The consequences of getting this Daily Show canceled, if that was on the cards or not. But we were so focused on the work, we really didn't have time to think about it. We were just like, we have to tape at 6:30. So whatever's, even anything happened in your personal life, if someone died, you better put that shit away because this thing, we're taping at 6:30 whether you're ready or not. And so yeah, it was. So in that way, it was good, I guess, because I was
Yeah.
so focused on the work and I was so intoxicated by New York City and working working on this institution of a comedy show that I just, it's blown by. 5 years have blown by. I still love it. Every day I go
Yeah.
to work and it's even now
Wait,
remotely.
it's been 5 years?
Pretty much. I mean, September 2015.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really kind of went by,
Time
Yeah.
really flies. Holy shit. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Time, yeah, it's crazy. So, and I was learning a lot. I was
Mhm.
every day I was learning a lot. I still learn a lot with working with the people there, because that job wasn't easy to me. It
Mhm.
wasn't. It was completely out of. I've never done anything like that. The way
Yeah.
they do that show. Field pieces, desk pieces. I've never done
Mhm.
desk. In Australia, we couldn't get on TV to save our lives. In
Yeah.
Australia, so yeah, it was a huge learning curve.
That's so cool. And so like coming to the States, getting on the Daily Show, like where you are now with like you have like your Netflix special out, you're shooting movies. What do you think are some of the biggest lessons that you learned about yourself just from making all these sort of pivots in your career and trying this avenue and going down this lane? And like, how do you think that sort of like made you for the better?
Yeah, it definitely allowed me to figure out what I like doing and what I'm good
Mhm.
at, and because I was able to do so many different things, at least get a taste of it. I realized what I like
Mhm.
and what I don't want to do, because I think sometimes in show business, when you have a little bit of a profile, people will ask you to do everything, right? From
Mhm.
like, hey, host this show or present this or act in this, and
Mhm.
and those are great. It's great to get offers coming in, because there were many years when offers weren't coming in.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it also allows you to focus on like, oh, I don't like doing that,
Yeah.
So I'm at peace with passing on this offer, even
Yeah.
though money's good, people attached are great, some of my heroes are attached. On
Mhm.
paper, it sounds good, but you're like, that's not in my wheelhouse. Even
Yeah.
I could do it, but I'm not the best at it, and there's other stuff I'd rather do. So I think that's kind of the biggest thing is kind of finding what you enjoy doing, and
Mhm.
in terms of self-expression. And because I don't know, we're lucky, I think, in a position where we can tell authentic stories and we're not in it just to get famous. And so
Mhm.
I feel like that's the biggest difference, right? Between like authentic voices and people
Yeah.
just trying to get famous. And because we're not just trying to get famous, we don't just do every single thing that comes our way.
Mhm.
We kind of more selective. We pick and choose. Does it fit what I want to say, how I want to express myself? Am I doing it for the right reasons? Stuff like that. That being said, you might see me on some kind of game show soon, so
Yeah.
whatever. But even then, when offers come in, you can kind of figure out what you like about it,
Mhm.
and what you don't like. So stuff like that. So that's kind of why I learned about myself a bit more. And I don't know. I always like, damn, everything I've done, I've kind of approached it with this learning mentality, like acting. Every time I'm acting on set with trained actors, I'm always like watching them and how they conduct themselves, how they prepare, how they,
Mhm.
the little nuances in the facial expressions, stuff like that. So, yeah, I mean, all these different jobs, I'm always looking around to see. I don't want to be the guy who's the best at it in the room, because I feel
Yeah.
like I'm not learning anything from that. So, I guess I realized that I really like learning
Being the worst in
and
the room? No, I'm just kidding.
yeah, I kind of like being the worst in the room, because I'm just like, man, if everyone here is, I want to see how great these people are, and then I'm
Mhm.
like, man, there's another level, and that's how I felt at the Daily Show. I was like, man, these guys are operating on a different level. Like, it's great to be in this environment, because
Yeah.
I've seen it the other way. I've seen it when it's
Mhm.
a bunch of amateurs in a room. It
Yeah.
sucks. It's like we're not making anything good, and there's no one's elevating anything. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And yeah, no, I think like before we get into all these questions, like what you were saying is, I think especially when people are pursuing something creative or they are, starting a small business or being an entrepreneur, there's always this sort of fear that you have to say yes to everything or it's all going to dry up. And so like you have to, once you get further enough along in your career, you have to learn how to say no. And I know for me, that's been the hardest thing. It's just like saying no, because I'm like, well, I want to show up for everyone because I know what it was like when no one gave a shit about me.
Exactly.
So I want to say yes and I want to be there. And so this notion of like, oh, go ahead. Yeah.
No, you go ahead. Yeah. No, you're about to get to the point.
I was just going to say that it's like, it's okay to say no and not beat yourself up about it and just be like, it's just not the right thing for you to do. And I think that can be scary sometimes, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially for people, I would say, like people like us, where everything we do because of our race and how we look in America, there's a political element to it. So sometimes saying no becomes like as though we are making some kind of indictment on this community or this cause. And sometimes it's just like, man, you don't understand, like, and you try to let people understand, but it's very tough sometimes when you're not professionally in show business. Like, I get, let's say an offer comes in and like I get this offer every 2 days and I can't say yes every single time. Otherwise, I don't have, it's not that I'm not down with the cause. It's just that, if I say yes to all this stuff, I literally would have no time to kind of work on the projects that I need to work on, So stuff like that, and I've been lucky, I think for the most part, people have understood where I'm coming from. And but yeah, you're right. It's scary to say no sometimes, and it's you don't know whether you're like saying no to other offers or is this the end if you say no, or even am I offending this community if I say no, but yeah, it's part of the job.
Okay, so I want to move to my favorite part of the episode, which is always audience questions. We got like a lot of good ones, so I'll try and pick some of my favorites. This first one is near and dear to my heart because I have lived through it. Okay, so Jessica from Florida writes, how do you balance making less money for a career change while also paying bills, student loans, etc.?
How do you do it? It's tough. Living in a country that has free healthcare helps a lot, and high minimum wage, like Australia.
What's the minimum wage in Australia? Do you know? Because it's like trash here.
It's like 15 an hour Australian dollars, I think. 15 or 18.
Wow,
it's high. Like you can work. Let me put it this way: in Australia, you can work as a grocery store assistant manager. One job, own your house, go on holidays with your family, like overseas holiday once a year at least. Yeah, you can have a car. Like in America, people are working like 3 jobs, like trying to make ends meet. It's just crazy, like how much people hustle in America. So to answer your question, I don't have a lot of experience with like hustling from the ground up in America. How do you make it work? Damn. I mean, I won't pretend to know everyone's situation. Maybe they've got stuff at home they have to deal with. But it does come down to, comedy. This question was about creative pursuits, but comedy is like it doesn't. The one good thing about comedy is that it doesn't matter who your dad was. It doesn't matter what your heritage is or how much money you have. Like stand-up comedy at its core is very, you have to put up results and you have to show up and put up results. And so that's not so much how do you deal with that stuff. It's more of a question of like, whatever you're dealing with in life, we all are trying to start at the same level in comedy. So don't let all that stuff discourage you, I guess. That's not so much that's not really an answer with how to deal with all that stuff. It's tough, man. I mean, maybe you have more perspective on, I don't know how to answer that other than, it's shitty to say, but you really got to want it. You got to want it enough to be working jobs and paying bills and still finding time to jump on stage. Like it's just a matter of, sacrificing enough to do it.
Yeah, I think you're right on the money about not pun intended, but right, you are really right about like you have to sacrifice. And I think the other thing is I think maybe the notion that you can balance everything when you're trying to pursue your dreams and make this career shift, like maybe that doesn't exist. Like I know when I was pursuing stand up, it wasn't like I wasn't able to balance everything. Like I fell behind on certain bills or like I couldn't pay like my rent fully. And that was just like sort of part of the process, which is not kind of the answer that you necessarily want to hear. But I think it's a lot of like, well, I missed weddings because it's like I can't afford to fly to a wedding, or like I wouldn't go out on the weekends, and really just sort of I made a packed lunch every day instead of ordering, lunch at work and
stuff like that.
And a lot of those like sort of practical kind of unsexy things are sort of the things that you have to do. But I think that I don't know if balance really exists when you're trying to make that leap, because
that's a good point.
I think in order to make that leap, you can't really have that security. You can't really have that backup plan. It's sort of like, I have to just go for it and fingers crossed. So I think.
Yeah, no, that's a great point.
Right?
That balance is tough to do that. No, that's a great way to put that. And there is no way to find balance. It's an obsession. Mm-hmm. It's a crazy obsession. And I guess what I was trying to say with my earlier statement is that every comedy hero or every creative hero, with some exceptions, went through the same thing, So like they had to figure it out, and that's kind of where it comes from, that hunger, that's where it comes from having to figure that out. And it's tough, and having to grind it out and respecting stage time. And because it's hard to get, because you're balancing 50 other things and bills and all that. And, so it kind of comes with it, that grind.
Yeah. So Jessica, I hope that you can sort of like maybe have a support system where you can like, I don't know, like lean on your roommates or your friends or family and just sort of accept like, okay, things are going to be topsy-turvy until I get, myself situated. So fingers crossed. Okay. I also want to talk about this question because I think this is great. Okay. So this is from Luna. She writes, what do you tell yourself in moments when your thoughts are self-sabotaging?
That's a great question. That's a great question. I've been lucky to get a lot of good advice over the years. Self-sabotaging thoughts are very common. Everyone gets it. Imposter syndrome. I shouldn't be here. I don't deserve to be here. I think early on, the sound guy at the Comedy Store in Sydney, Australia, who's a musician, he told me that being professional means you're able to critique yourself without being emotional about it. And that really struck a chord with me because I value being professional and I value other people being professional. I mean, for me, that's a real virtue, I think. It's weird to talk about that in creative endeavors, especially comedy where everything's so crazy. But I think being professional oftentimes is a separator because it helps you work harder and smarter and show up and deliver as opposed to, I think being professional is what keeps you grounded, I think, because you think of yourself as a professional, not like a celebrity performer or whatever, and there's different ways to approach that. Maybe I'm not going the right way, but that's just how I think about it. Yeah. And so when he said being professional means that really hit home for me because I would get so emotional if the gig didn't go well. It was like the end of the world for me. It's like, damn, I'm just, just couldn't get over it.
Yeah.
And that kind of helped me realize like, you have, if you want to get better, you have to be self-critical because that what makes you better. But you also can't be emotional about it to the point where you can't function because that's not how you get better either. Yeah. And so if the goal of what we're doing is to get better, then that self-sabotaging stuff doesn't help. What it does help with is it helps keep you grounded and pushing forward to be better. But if it's making you depressed and doubting, if it's hampering your ability to perform, then that's not good. So that's kind of how I approach it.
Yeah. And I think also, Luna, it's probably good to sort of analyze what it is. Because usually it's like fear-based, right? Where it's like, oh, if I achieve this thing and I'm successful, then what next? Or if I do this thing and I fail, are people going to judge me? So I think if you can sort of get at the root of, okay, why am I trying to sabotage this opportunity? That could put you on a good path of like, okay, now I know how to fix it. Because you just have to like call yourself out a little bit. And, I definitely like have those moments where I'm like, I want X, Y, and Z, but then when I get it, I'm just really nervous about like, okay, I have to show up. I have to deliver. Like my favorite thing when in terms of writing books is I love announcing the deal. Like announcing that I sold a book is like amazing. But then when I have to write it, I'm like, oh, fuck. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's scary,
100%.
but then you have to just follow through and just realize you know more than you think you know. You have the skill set and you're also going to learn some things. And it's okay to not know everything, but you just need to dive in and just figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. That's a great question though. Self-sabotage. And everyone faces it. So
Mhm.
everyone faces it. I've been lucky to meet some of my comedy heroes.
Yeah.
And when they tell me they have it backstage, just candidly, they just go, I'm like, what? Even you? Like, that's crazy. So everyone goes through it. So you're not alone, Luna.
Good luck, Luna. Okay. Stephanie has a really cute question, which I love. So she writes, how do you pursue lofty, scary goals when you are at heart a risk-averse, cautious person?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Great question.
Yeah.
And that ties right into that corporate type A personality mindset. And it's tough, and unfortunately, I've got a few friends from law school who extremely talented and smart people, and they just couldn't get over that. They just couldn't get over it. And so they, instead of pursuing something fun and like, let's say, starting in the mailroom of a sports, they want to be they always want to work in sports.
Yeah.
And in America, like these high profile industries like show business, sports, and so on, you have to start in the mailroom, but they just couldn't do it. They couldn't get over this like quitting their safe legal job to start in the mailroom. And it's just a failure to believe in themselves, and a failure to believe that the worst case scenario isn't that bad.
Yeah.
That you quit and then you pursue this thing. And if you don't get it, you'll figure something out. If you're a smart guy with tons of qualifications, like people have made it on way less, so, but they just, really can't believe in themselves and they're scared of what other people will think when they start from scratch. That comparison problem again. They compare it to all these other friends who are senior associates trying to make partner at their law firm, and they just started from the mailroom from scratch again. So how do you get over it? I mean, if I can give you some practical, non-cliche advice, it's kind of like you really got to stop thinking about what other people think. You have to, if you're worried about your parents, you have to understand that they want you to be happy ultimately, even if they don't know that themselves. Ultimately, they actually want you to be happy. And that means pursuing what you like. And then part of that's also understanding that if you pursue something kind of risky, the worst case scenario isn't that bad, and it's not that bad. What's the worst that can happen, and just kind of, it's a skill set. It's a skill set to, nothing I say now may convince you. It's a skill set you have to learn. And that's what, I've been talking to you about on this podcast is I know exactly where you're coming from because I had to develop that skill set of going away from this, like, hey, I should be working in a law firm, right? To like, oh, okay, I know what I'm doing. It's going well. Let's just keep doing it. And then whatever happens, happens. I can live with it. I can live with the consequences of this. I can live with being, whatever job I have to find when I'm 40, I'm okay with it. I can do it. It's not, I'm more scared of wanting to do this thing and never do this creative endeavor and not doing it. I'm more scared of that than I am of failing. That's
and like sort of just being okay with failure is something that like I think, I don't know, certainly in America that's not cool. Like you're a winner. If you're not, you're a loser. And what's wrong with you? And I think it sort of instills this sense of fear in people where it's like, well, I don't want to make a mistake. I don't want to screw up. I want to just do everything perfectly so I can be okay. But then like this person's saying, like, you're not necessarily taking the risk to sort of like grow and achieve the things that you might want to do. So I say, really just sort of think about, like you said, it's not the worst. Think about what the worst case scenario is and realize it's not that bad. If you want to write it down, say you want to pursue like, I don't know, a singing career and you do a show and you forget the lyrics. Okay, that's the worst. That's not that bad. You're not
Right.
going to do that every show. So it's just sort of like
Right.
getting yourself in the mindset that like, okay, if you make a mistake or if you fail or you have like a huge like sort of bomb situation, that's just what it is. We've experienced that in stand-up where I'm just have so many shitty shows in a row and I'm like, do I suck at this job? And it's just like, no, it's a low period. You got to figure it out. And so, Stephanie, I just want you to be able to just kind of go for it, because the fact that you're asking this question already tells me that you want to take that leap, and maybe you're just waiting for someone or something to give you permission. And I think you have to give yourself permission.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And unfortunately, there's no Instagram quote you can read that's going to convince you just like that, you know? So it's a skill set to navigate uncertainty, to build up that tolerance and to understand how it will play out, even if you can't see it, is a skill set, you know? So you just, you got to work on it. Like meditation. Like, it's not something you can't just
meditate?
think of nothing like that. Yeah, with
Every day?
No, not every day. But every so often, yeah.
Oh, every so often sounds very non-committal.
Yeah, I should be more on it. I wanted to be honest though, so don't call me out on it.
Okay. So I have one last question, and this is from Anonymous. They write, how do I advocate pursuing my dreams when the security of it is iffy?
Oh, it's like this. It's a previous question almost. Yeah. How do I navigate pursuing my dreams?
Yeah, advocate pursuing their dreams is what this person wrote. I'm just sort of like nothing secure, right?
Well, I mean, how do I advocate? I mean, who are you advocating to yourself or to other people? Because you shouldn't worry about advocating it to other people. You gotta live with yourself at the end of the day. So if you're talking about advocating it, you're trying to explain yourself to other people. I mean, that's a losing battle, you know? Trying to get someone to understand this obsession is almost impossible. So really, you only need to convince yourself, is what I would say. Just advocate to yourself, you know? And maybe that's what she meant. Maybe it's how do I convince myself to do this? And I feel like we kind of answered that before. But there's no easy answer, you know? Hopefully you do it enough to where you realize that you like doing it and you're good at it. And then you can and then that, you know, then that's the indicator that you should keep going. You know? But everything we just said kind of applies as well.
There's no such thing as security. I just want to get that out. I think job security, I think that whole notion that sort of like you work in an office for 50 years and you get to go watch and retire, that is not the reality. That's like for 99% of people that will not happen. So if you accept that, then you sort of forget about security and kind of think about, okay, if I want to, how can I marry like my passion with something that's just going to pay my bills and allow me, like you said, to take a vacation once a year with like loved ones. And like, if you can do that, I feel like that's a success. Like you've made it, in my opinion. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Piecing it together is tough, especially in this new age. It's crazy. You got gigs coming through your app. There's Bitcoin. Like who knows what the hell? Like nothing. No one's working in a factory for, like you said, 60 years and getting a gold watch. You know, we're all trying to figure it out right now. And that's you know, that's the scary part, and that's also the fun part of it, is not being tied to this fixed path if you don't want to, you know? And hopefully you can see enough success stories to realize that the common denominator in all this was people facing great uncertainty and figuring it out, you know? And that should be an indicator to you, that should give you confidence that is the right way to do it, you know? If that's what you're pursuing.
Well, Ronnie, thank you so much. This was like so fruitful. And I think it is really inspiring to sort of like, I think like you said, there's no Instagram quote. It's just sort of like this kind of daily reminder to check in with yourself and believe in yourself. And I think people just need to hear that and like just give themselves permission to do that and not be scared. So, I mean, you saying all of that is so great. And I can't wait. When is your next special happening? Are you going to have a special soon? Because your
I think
Netflix...
comedy ended.
No, but your Netflix special was so fucking fun. I've seen it like 5 times. It's
Thanks
so
so much.
funny.
Yeah,
Oh
no, I
my
appreciate
God.
it. Thanks so much. Yeah. Like hopefully next year, vaccine comes out end of this year. Talk about navigating uncertainty. I mean, that's what hopefully we can do it next year. But thanks for having me on. I mean, I feel like I wasn't saying anything you don't already know and say, so preaching to a choir here. But thanks for having me on. It's good to see you. Haven't seen you in a while.
You guys, wasn't that a great episode?
The way he looks at you when you're asking a question was so cute, where he's just like, he's fully engaged, loving the conversation, and just like all smiles. It was so cute to watch.
I mean, I agree with you. It was great. I hope you guys enjoyed the conversation. I think the audience questions were great. And I think it was like nice to hear from 2 people who have sort of had highs and lows in their careers and can really truly identify with like when things aren't easy.
And I think a lot of people are going to be able to connect with that as well.
Amen. So, you know what? Another episode in the bank.
Cha-ching.
Freaking making $1 million deals.
You are? Or I am? Because I'm not.
Oh, I'm not either.
Oh. Maybe Ronnie is.
Yeah, Ronnie, send us that Marvel money. Okay, you guys, seriously, you know what time it is. It is time to talk business, specifically Black-owned business.
That's right, hoes.
As you guys know, I am not taking money from the man. Okay?
Yes.
I'm not taking money from Dyson.
Wix can go shove it. I did make a website off Wix. They're actually pretty good, but not a sponsor.
Kind cereal.
Oh, that's my favorite. Don't.
More like unkind.
Oh, I like them.
More like we don't like your kind.
No, none of your kind in my cereal bowl.
Because we are independent, okay? We are free spirits. We wear leather jackets.
I don't own a leather jacket.
We jump on our hogs. And we go up Route 66.
Have we met? Do I know you?
You say we don't put on leather jackets and get on motorcycles and drive along Route 66?
Let me get my paisley bandana out and I'll wrap it around my hair.
Born to be wild. Okay, the point is, you guys, through that shit show of an intro, the point is, we are supporting Black-owned businesses. Instead of are you looking at my boobs? Why did your eyes look down?
I was looking at the microphone, actually, the settings on the back of the microphone.
Okay. Instead of like taking money from the man, we wanted to use this space as an opportunity to just highlight businesses that we both love or that I specifically use. Support Black-owned business because it needs to be year-round, not just for Black Friday, not just for Black History Month, not just for Martin Luther King Jr., not for my birthday, not for Beyonce, not for Michelle Obama, not for Barack Obama.
So who's the business?
Not for Bo the dog Obama.
Oh, I love Bo.
We love Bo. Okay, so the Black-owned business, you guys, buckle up because this is cute. If you follow me on social media, you know my hairstylist is Sabrina Rowe, and she's fantastic. And during the freaking quarantine, this queen was like, you know what? I'm starting a fucking hair care business. It's called Natural by Sabs. And the word natural has no vowels in it.
Oh, cool and trendy.
Because we are young.
Hip.
Sassy.
Independent.
Devil may care. You've never heard that? Devil may care attitude?
No. Anyway, how do you spell it? Oh, it's a short one, isn't it?
But listen up, you guys. Okay, so I love her products, and I'm not just saying this because she's my hairstylist. Like, if I didn't like it, I would just be like, I don't need this. I'm set. But it's really good. So she has shampoo and conditioner bars. She has like a traditional, shampoo and like liquid shampoo and conditioner. She also has like a soothing scalp thing. She has, all the things like rose oil for your scalp. There's so
Lovely.
many incredible things. I really love it. You can go to her website, naturalbysabs.com. Follow her on Instagram, naturalbysabs.
As in natural by Sabs.
T as in twins.
Mm.
R as in rebellious. L as in limoncello. B as in boisterous. Y as in...
Why haven't you gotten all the products from Natural by Sabs yet?
Exactly, bitch. S as in Sam. I should have been as in Sabrina.
Yeah, Sabs. Yeah.
A as in apple pie. B as in bronzer. S as in smelling salts.
I thought you said smelling socks.
No, smelling salts. Salts. How do you say salt?
Salts.
That's what I was saying. You're making me feel like I wasn't saying it right.
So Natural by Sabs. Go get some.
Credit time.
Host.
Phoebe Lynn Robinson.
Producers.
Phoebe Lynn Robinson and British Bake Off.
Editor.
Phoebe Robinson.
Yeah, you want to do it?
Yeah, this is what you gotta do to edit.
Okay.
You fucking press record.
Right.
When everyone's done talking, you press stop. Then
I wish.
then you freaking open up Adobe Sound Control.
Right, the famous one. Yeah.
Then you just right click to like bring down the pops from my P's into the microphone. And then you
just right click.
Yeah.
And it just knows.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
And then left click when you want to bring up some like the moments are quiet. And you want
Theme tune.
Gavin Turek,
Interns.
Sasha and Malia Obama. Thank you for everything.